Good morning, everybody. Thought we'd take a run out here in the pasture, see how the girls are doing. We'll go back down and see the boys in a minute. Are they growing? Wait till you see some of those guys if you haven't seen them for a while. Let's check out the girls here. Hey girls, everybody getting some grass? I wonder, there we go. Think they'll eat for a cookie? Who's ready for cookies? Come on. Everybody wants cookies. Way back over there too, huh? Yeah. The girls like their animal crackers. So do the boys, for that matter. Come on, Callie. You want to come up and get one? Come on. You scared of the golf cart? Yeah? Not used to taking something from the golf cart, are you? Yes, you girls like your snacks, don't you? Looking good. Everybody's nice and fat. Healthy. Got plenty of from the pasture here and everything else. And it didn't take long for even the new ones to figure out what animal crackers were about, did it? All right, let's move on. No, we're done, girls. Let's move on. I'm going to talk to you guys some about pasture management. All right, let's go over here. See if I can find a spot with a little bit of shade. It's kind of still early in the morning this morning, but I'll tell you what, it has been hot lately. So, but I got a shady spot. We'll stop here and talk a little bit about pasture management. Then we're going to go see the boys. All right, let's take a minute and talk pasture management. I know, you bought some sheep, or you're going to buy some sheep. The guy you talked to, hey, don't worry, they're going to eat everything. No problem, you'll have to mow again. It might have been a bit of exaggeration. They eat a lot of weeds and they eat a lot of stuff, but you're still going to have to manage your pasture, and I thought, today I got a good chance where I can show you exactly what I mean. The pasture they're out in here now, the girls are out in, got a lot of grass. It's looking good, but we're starting to get some weeds. Now, first thing, what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. Go to your county extension agent and talk to them. They will be able to tell you what is going to be the best practice for you to manage your pasture. All right? My feeling is I got two choices: mow it or spray it, one of the two. So if you don't like spraying, you're going to mow. Strictly, that's all there is to it. I like to spray. I just as soon spray. So my pasture is grass, strictly grass. In eastern Nebraska, this is all brome grass. Go to the western part of the state, it's going to be different. We've got some new grass we put in just in the last year or two. That's a pasture mix. It'll have more grasses, but there are no legumes. There are no like red clover or anything like that. Because when you put any of that in with your grass, you can't spray anymore because you'll kill it. So I'm spraying a broadleaf control. That'll keep the broadleaf weeds down, but it won't hurt my grass. And in my case, I'm using something called Grazon. Now, Grazon is rated that I could spray it while the sheep are still out here, and it's fine. Doesn't hurt. Sheep, goats, horses, cattle, whatever. Spray the pasture, let them graze it, you're perfectly fine. I don't necessarily do that. In my case, pastures back over here, I sprayed them about 2 or 3 days ago. Probably another 2 or 3 days, and then I might go ahead and put the sheep out there. I don't like to put them out the same day. That's just me. Now, if you're thinking of doing something like this, it's fine. You're saying, hey, that's great, I can graze the same day. There are a few restrictions on Grazon that most people don't know, and I wanted to bring them up here real quick. Grazon's fine the day they're out here. If they're lactating, they need at least 7 days. All right? Also, if you have, say, a grass field and you want to spray that and then you want to bale that off and bale off for grass hay, now there's a 30-day waiting period. And the manure or urine from animals that have been eating either hay that's been sprayed with Grazon or pasture can have a carryover up to 18 months. So whether you have horses, cattle, sheep, goats, whatever, and you got the manure, and people say, hey, can I get some of that manure to put on my garden? Don't do that, because it's probably going to kill most everything in people's gardens. So if you're going to spray, check with your county extension agent for what's right for you, and consider there's a lot of carryovers with that. You need to account for that. I'm lucky in one respect. I'm grazing here. I can have carryover on the pasture here from any manure they leave, but I feed all alfalfa hay. And of course, alfalfa's a broadleaf, so you can't spray alfalfa with graze on, so there's no carryover from any manure I have in the wintertime from the alfalfa, or very minimal. So I don't have to worry quite so much there. Why do you have to maintain your pasture? I'm going to grab my camera here real quick. Be easy to hold this around. This is a section of pasture got used very little last year and didn't even get used, I don't believe, the year before that. If I'm not, I can't remember for sure, but very little. And if you look out here, I mean, I got a few cedar trees that the sheep haven't eaten yet because they love cedar trees, but there aren't any broadleaf weeds. They got a nice, good, thick pasture. Now we're going to go over here. I'm going to show you a pasture over here. This pasture was used fairly extensively by sheep in 2019. Some in the end of 2019, excuse me, in 2020. This pasture was used by sheep pretty extensively for my son-in-law in 2020. All right, in 2021, it wasn't used because he sold all of his sheep, but my daughter had one horse left, so she put a horse out on this one small pasture here. All right, so this was used pretty extensive in 20. It had a horse grazing it down pretty good in 2021 until she sold the horse in this last month. And take a look at that. Look at all the weeds growing up because the grass was eaten down so far. Just totally different. There's a pasture with minimal grazing on it. There's one that got grazed pretty heavy, and look at all the broadleaves that came up. Now, I have the same problem in two small pastures over here because in 2019, 2020, I had to graze those pastures a little heavy because I didn't have as much over here to graze them. So I tended to, even though I rotated, I grazed them a little too much, so now I'm having to spray them. They're not nearly as bad as this one, but they have to be sprayed because I let them graze a little too much. So that's why I'm big on rotational grazing, constantly moving them from pasture to pasture. This year, we'll go back over there, and there's a lot of grass in that pasture yet, but it did grow up some broadleaves because they got established in 2020. So here they are, they're coming back in 2021. All right, so my key is now, I spray them now. I haven't grazed them. If we go over and look at those, they still got a lot of grass in them. So I'll probably start lessening my problem. It may take me 2-3 years to finally get it straightened out. But you don't want to overgraze. You want to try to be able to rotate, move them around from pasture to pasture. It makes it easier on you. It's better on them. Will they eventually eat those weeds? Sure they will. But by the time they get to them, they'll have eaten the grass down so much, they'll have damaged the grass. So that's why we need to manage our pastures, rotational, spraying, mowing, whatever you want to do, but don't consider that the sheep are going to eat everything down and you don't have to worry about it. Ain't going to work that way. All right, that's enough of that stuff. Let's go over and go see the boys. They've been growing like weeds and we need to go look at them. All right, there's the boys. Let me hang the camera up. We'll give them their treats, huh? Let me get it. There we go, how's that? All right, guys. Who's ready? Oh, yes. You're the first one here all the time. There we go. Yeah. Long shot says I'll eat. Here you go, Ringo. You want some? Throw them that way for you guys. Yes, you come up. You want your back scratched? Huh? Yeah. Now, mind you, if you got a ram like that and he's kind of friendly, kind of keep an eye. You can make him too friendly. What? I've already gave him a swift kick more than once when he decided he was going to get a little too aggressive. I figure if I'm going to straighten him out, I'm going to straighten him out now when he's little and not wait till he gets bigger. What do you think? You want one? Little one? Yeah? Tell you what, they are... hang on. Yeah, you like to have your head scratched, don't you? To something, just to a point. Ringo, what do you think? Tell you the one that's really surprised me, or I've been happy to see. Let me get rid of this bucket here. Hang on just a second. There we go. Get rid of that. The ones I've been happy to see is Ringo here, Skeeter behind him. The little guys here are starting. They're a lot younger. Remember that black one, that white one, they're almost half the age of some of these. So, especially this guy here. But the horn growth I've been seeing back there on Skeeter and Ringo way back there and up here too, Stu. He's the one right here with the brown butt. I've been seeing some really nice horn growth on them. They go in spurts. Little white one, he's, you know, those two are a lot younger. He didn't have much. All of a sudden lately his is really gone, but those other guys have really had some good horn growth. And it goes in spurts like that. You may see them for, seems like for weeks they don't do anything, and the next time you turn around, bam, all of a sudden they got a lot more horn growth. Let me go over here real quick. I want to show you one thing I'm thinking about for my next project. All right, we'll try to do this with me going backwards, seeing as how the way the sun is. All right, now we need to get ready for, think about winter already, I know. We're going to have 2 pins up here I'm going to put ram in with some ewes. This is the 3rd pin. I'm going to put a ram in here with a few ewes. I got 3 of those rams are probably going to breed. We'll get into all that stuff later as we get close. This is pin number 4. This pin will hold whatever rams are not in with breeding. So I've got at least right now 4 rams that'll winter in this pin. And let's go back in here. These were a couple of sheds that my son-in-law had bought for his rams, and you can see they just tore them to pieces. Now, I can just put some new steel on them and they'd be fine, but I got a plan for next year. Some changes are going to be made coming next year, so I think I know where I might want to use those next year, off over here. So here's what I'm thinking of doing. Got a lot of tree branches here I'm going to have to cut out one of these first days, and I'm thinking of taking the steel, at least for part of this, off the side. I'm going to come out about another 10 feet with this building, maybe 9 feet, put it under cover. I'll pull down the fence over here, and that will now be part of that will be a run-in, so those rams will have a spot they can come under cover, come here wintertime. I'll also have enough area under cover I can take a round bale, flip the round bale over. It'll be under cover so it won't get snowed or rain or ice or anything else on it. Then all I gotta do is peel off the round bale to feed them, and peel off the round bale and come over to this pen and feed them. So in the wintertime, I'll have 1 round bale here that'll feed 2 pens. I'll have another round bale up my barn feeding the other 2 pens, but it'll all be under cover so it won't get snowed, rain, or anything like that. So one of my next projects then is I got to get a bunch of those tree branches down, and then we're going to try to move this out probably about another 9 feet. It doesn't need to be much. 3 sheets of steel is 9 feet, so I'll probably just come over 9 feet. That's good enough. The other advantage to that is I got to bring water a little ways, but by doing it here, I have electricity in here. It'll be easy for me just to run some wiring over for a plug-in for a tank heater in the winter. That's better than trying to go out there with it. So that is one of the projects we've got coming up. It is kind of a slow time. I know it's been a couple weeks for a video, but you know, there's just not a lot happening right now. The ewes are out there in the pasture. They're just going along. Ram lambs are here growing. That's about all there is to it. I did take, last week, I brought all the ewes in. The ewe lambs got their 2nd CDT shot, and I went ahead and all the ewes themselves, the adult ewes, I gave them all their CDT booster for the year. Had a couple that I thought were a little rough. We went and wormed a couple also. So they are done with CDT for the year. The ram lambs here, come fall, when we're going to stick some of them with ewes, I'll leave the others. I think I'll hit them all with a CDT booster because a lot of them had their double CDTs way back last March, April. So we'll hit them one more. Isn't gonna hurt them. Just play it safe, I guess, in that respect. So not a lot going on. That's why it's been a couple weeks. It might be a couple weeks again, guys, because there just isn't too much happening this time of year. There are certain times of year, it's as busy as can be, and I could probably do 2 videos a week. But right now, not quite so much. So, hey, thanks for sticking with me. I'll be back in a couple weeks.